normal day, Wednesday, and I know it's a Wednesday because Wednesday is soccer day. Down at Kids Sport, we have a really good men's over 40 league that played on Wednesday nights, and I kind of look forward to it all day because it's a great group of guys. Was down there kind of at the normal time, played a couple of games, and the way it works is we play a couple of games and then you rotate out so the next team can rotate in. So my team rotated out and we were just kind of off to the side of the field, just kind of discussing things and chatting and waiting for our next turn to go back out on the field. And I just noticed that I started to feel very dizzy and then lightheaded, and honestly at that point everything just went blank.
We asked John a question and it was just silence. And then we look at John and wondering what the silence was about, and he was just staring off into space, and then he just slowly drifted out of his chair right onto the floor. And our first response was assuming that he had fainted, because that's what it looked like. He just fainted. Well, I guess he did faint, but fainted from who knows what. So we just responded and assumed he had fainted, and we're taking that kind of precaution.
I remember the night vividly up till the point where I lost consciousness, and I remember thinking, I'm not really playing all that well tonight, which is not uncommon. You have good nights, you have bad nights, but I do also remember when I was talking with some of my friends off the field that very quickly I got this real feeling of dizziness and lightheaded, and not uncommon for me because I do have fairly low blood pressure, so sometimes if I stand up quick or if I move quick, I will get a little lightheaded. But then this didn't go away, and it just accelerated to the point where I lost consciousness.
Then after doing the checks, we quickly realized there was like 2 or 3 of us hovering over him, trying to surmise what was wrong. Somebody said, check his pulse. Checked his pulse. There's no pulse. So at that point in time, we all kind of looked at each other, and we realized what we needed to do. And then it occurred to me that I had recently taken CPR training, and so I knew what to do. And so I just did it. I'm not even sure there's a real conscious thought of doing it, but I know the training prepares you for that. And then when the moment of truth comes, I took action.
So we got dispatched to a soccer field for a cardiac arrest, male patient down the ground, young male. My understanding is bystander CPR was performed on scene, and early defibrillation was performed on scene by fire department, Spokane Fire Department, which resulted in the patient becoming having a return of spontaneous circulation. So patient was then out of arrest.
One of the things that they were really surprised about right off the bat was the fact that after they delivered the shock to get my heart going again right at the site that I regained consciousness. Because from what I've heard, that's not typically the outcome in a situation like this, is that typically somebody who has sudden cardiac death their heart will get going, but they'll be in a coma for several days, or they'll often suffer some type of kidney damage or brain damage based on the fact that they didn't have good oxygenation of the brain or the kidneys during the CPR. And when they found out how long Kent did CPR, for over 10 minutes, and that there was no damage to either my renal functions or my brain, they were really surprised. And that's something that they've highlighted several times.
This whole situation was rather surreal. It's hard to prepare yourself, emotionally and mentally for that. But more than anything, we're just hoping and praying that John's going to be okay, and that we're doing the right thing for him.
If you learn these skills, I don't think it's a matter of if you're going to use them, but when. I mean, everybody at some point is going to be put in that situation where having that knowledge could make a huge difference.
His wife came to collect some of his things that he had been left there, and his daughters were with him. They took the day off school, and seeing his daughters there, wow, that was something. That was very impactful for me to see what could have happened, how I could have been looking at 2 fatherless girls, and things hadn't happened the way they did.
I've got a great life. I've got a great family. You know, it's hard for me to kind of get my arms around everything I'm thankful for, because there is so much. But, you know, all of the people in my life, the ones that were there to support me, you know, up until this happened, and the ones who've been there since. I mean, it's overwhelming at times. You know, you just try and figure out, how do you express, you know, those types of things, you know, to your family, to your friends, you know, how important they are. That's a big thing.
I think this was just kind of an unusual circumstance, because he was a young male, generally in pretty good health, playing soccer, but obviously it seems like the early compressions that were performed is very important, and allowing for the early defibrillation too as well was very important in this scenario.
So the one thing probably is be prepared for those moments when you have to act, and you might see the CPR training is good for saving people's lives. It's certainly worth the time to get out there and get her done.
I honestly don't think that if I would have been the one standing there with somebody who was needing, you know, CPR or needing first aid of some kind, that I would have been able to respond quite the same way that Kent and some of the other guys did. I would like to hope I do, but I guess that is one of the messages I do try and give to people is, you know, if you learn these skills, I don't think it's a matter of if you're going to use them, but when. I mean, everybody at some point is going to be put in that situation where having that knowledge could make a huge difference.